Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Sethatina Newman Live. I am your host, Sethatina Newman, and I'd like to thank everybody for following along and seeing what I have to say on TikTok, Instagram, as well as X, and following me on YouTube. So thank you very much. I appreciate everybody's comments, and I look forward to receiving more comments as the time goes on. Today's topic is President Trump's big, beautiful bill. Now, it's 389 pages long. I attempted to read it. I will say attempted because it's very difficult to understand unless you have the previous tax bill sitting side by side. Because as you read the new, big, beautiful bill, that the Republicans are trying to get passed through the House of Representatives and the Senate by May 26th, so that President Trump can sign it on July 4th. There are a lot of this section has been amended by striking out a period in this section on this number line and added and on this number line, and this subsection paragraph has been added after section whatever. So like I said, unless you have the previous bill, it's going to be very difficult to understand for we little lay people to figure out what they're trying to say. Looking at it, I saw deductions for small businesses, which I think are beneficial because small businesses are having trouble keeping up with the large corporations, and small businesses are where our country has grown from. You know, there were small businesses and then they grew into larger corporations. Well, according to what's his name? Jason Smith, who is a Missouri congressman. He's also the chair for Ways and Means Committee. They're offering deductions or tax incentives for small businesses who are improving their business or expanding their businesses. So they're offering tax deductions to those companies. That is one area that I think is good, if that is truly what the bill says. Again, he is in support of the bill. So you have to think that, okay, his agenda is to get this bill passed. And there are some individuals who do not want the bill to pass, such as Representative Jimmy Gomez, who is a Democrat from California. And during the committee, he was asking an individual, I forgot who he was talking to, about the income taxes. Now, I couldn't find anything about income taxes in the bill. I looked. And like I said, I found deductions for companies. I found deductions for actually increases in tax payments from universities for their endowments. I saw some programs being cut, such as alternate energy research being cut, being terminated. That's the word I was looking for. Termination of energy resources. I don't understand why those need to be cut, but they're being terminated. So I found things like that, but I never found anything specifically to income tax. Yes, they had the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, which, they're not calling Social Security, they're calling it a retirement entitlement. It's not an entitlement, it's our money. But I digress. But I didn't find anything about income tax. So, but according to Jimmy Gomez, Representative Gomez, he was asking that, and I've heard this before, anyone making less than $15,000 a year, that's 15,000, which is basically living on the street at this point, they're getting an increase in the percentage of taxes that they have to pay. Now, that makes no sense to me. And same thing with anyone between 15,000 and 30,000, 30,000. They're having an increase of up to 20% by the year 2029. And why would you tax the lowest receiving individuals in our country, people who receive the lowest amount of money? Now that's their gross, not their net, their gross. That's their overall pay. Net is what you actually get to bring home. Gross is what you're paid, and then taxes come out of that. So that $15,000 a year, those people are going to be lucky to get $12,000 a year. And I mean lucky to get that much to live on. You know, that's what, 10, I can't math right now. 12,000 a year is $1,000 a month. Who can live on $1,000 a month? Not me. Luckily, my husband does really well. But that's ridiculous. $1,000 a month to live on. Basically, that's what they're going to be able to, that's what they're going to have to live on for their net income. So yeah. But again, I didn't find that. If it was in there, it was not under any of the bolded sections of the new bill. If somebody else finds it, please let me know what page it's on so I can look at it, because I didn't find it. But Representative Jimmy Gomez did find it, and he questioned, and the gentleman that he directed his questions to said that there is, the lower income individuals have negative tax deductions. They actually receive money back. So it's a negative and a positive, and you really don't know the divisor. And I'm like, what? So again, if you know tax law, if you can find the page that the income tax information is on in this new big beautiful bill, please message me on the TikTok or X or Instagram and let me know so that I can look it up. I want to be informed. I want to know what really is there and what it really does say. I don't want to knock the bill if it has good things in it. If it has things in it that are not so great, that are not beneficial to the American people, I want to know that too. And so based on Money Talks News, they stated that 7.6 million people are going to lose their medical coverage because of the cuts and changes and alternatives on the taxation of Medicaid, or the qualifications required to receive Medicaid. That 7.6 million people are going to lose coverage. Now, those people, I know from personal experience, from people that I know, are people who are on disability because they cannot work. I know a few people who cannot work. So they're on disability, therefore they get Medicaid. Children of parents who don't qualify for medical insurance for families, or can't afford medical insurance for their family for whatever company they work for, because they don't get paid a whole lot. I know when I was working at a private school, yeah, I paid for medical for myself and for my girls, and my ex-husband paid for himself because the two of us could not, neither one of us could afford family in medical insurance. We couldn't afford all four of us. So I had the better insurance. So I took on my two girls, and my ex-husband took care of himself on his insurance. That's ridiculous. And that was back in oh my goodness. I quit in 2013. So 2008, 2010, somewhere around there. And it's even worse now. Insurances have gone up. Doctors, medical expenses have gone up. So insurance has gone up. Families really can't afford it now. And so their children have Medicaid because they themselves don't make enough to even get insurance from their companies. Is that beneficial? Oh, and just to mention that this is all as a means of coming up with $715 billion deficit reduction. Yeah. So that the government can reduce their deficit by $715 billion. They're going to cut 7.6 million people who are covered under Medicaid. That's not just the retirees that get supplemental Medicaid or Medicare with their Medicare. That's, like I said, children, people with disabilities who cannot work. And the change in Medicaid is also making it difficult for individuals who do have Medicaid right now to actually be treated by their doctor. That's ridiculous. If somebody needs a treatment, then they should be able to get that treatment. I know of somebody who gets ingrown toenails, and now their podiatrist cannot preemptively cut back the toenails because it's no longer covered under Medicaid. So now they have to send a referral, and Medicaid has to say, well, yeah, I guess we'll cover it, but it's going to take 2 weeks for that referral to get processed. And hopefully in that 2 weeks, the toe doesn't get infected and they don't end up with gangrene and have to have that toe removed. Is that going to be less expensive than actually just cutting the toenails so that they don't get ingrown? Which one is less expensive for Medicaid in the long run? Personally, I would think that it's cutting the toenails ahead of time and keeping it from getting infected. But hey, I'm not anybody on the Medicaid board, and I'm not worried about so much of the money versus human care. That's where my heart goes. It's where my brain goes. It's caring for the person. And if I go financially, I am going to think, oh, a lot less expensive to pay for some podiatrist to cut toenails than have to amputate a toe. Sorry, just logic, really. Plain logic. So the Medicaid cut is in there. Now, President Trump, in his campaigning trail, said he wasn't going to touch Medicaid. But yet when he says, my big, beautiful bill, I have tax cuts and it's going to be fantastic. It's his big, beautiful bill. And yet Medicaid is being changed. I'm not going to touch Medicaid or Social Security. But yet Medicaid is being changed to where people are no longer, people who were able to receive Medicaid. Requirements have changed, so now you can't. Oh, and we changed the process of Medicaid, so now you can't get the treatments either. But I'm not going to touch Medicaid. Yeah. So again, something else he said, which now he has proven he can't be trusted on. Money Talk News also has stated that in the bill, there is a provision for $46.5 billion for border wall construction and $4 billion to hire more Border Patrol and Customs officers. Again, I didn't see any of that in the bill that I looked at. And I looked up Big Beautiful Bill and I looked this up. And, the bill that I read, I didn't see anything about that. So if you know what page it's on, again, please let me know so that I can look at it because I want to see if these facts are true. Again, I'm going based on what I found in research online. Where they got the information, I'm not 100% sure. So if you see it in the bill and you have read it, please, I'm asking you, I want to make sure what I am reporting is factual. Yes, this is an opinion-based show, but as I've said before, I want my opinion based on fact. So please, if you know where this information is, let me know so that I can look at it. And if I need to make a retraction statement, I will do so. I do agree that we do need more Border Patrol and more customs officers. Not so sure how a wall is going to work. I mean, just going back to history, China built a huge wall and the Huns still attacked. The Huns still came over it. So is a wall truly going to help the United States? I don't know. Should we be spending $46.5 billion on a wall that we're not sure will work or not? Personally, I don't think so. I think having the Border Patrol down there and giving them the means to keep people off of our land from coming through barbed wire fences or anything of that nature, I think that is more beneficial than building a wall. So again, the bill that I saw, the bill that I read, did have the no tax on tips. But then there were all these qualifiers in there on what constitutes as a tip. Same thing with overtime. All these qualifiers on what constitutes overtime. No tax on Social Security. Again, qualifiers in there about how much Social Security, if you're single, if you're married, if you're, receive X amount of Social Security, then, no tax on this amount. But once you go over it, then you have to start being taxed. So again, there's qualifiers on everything. So it's not just plain ordinary, no tax on tips. No tax on Social Security. No tax on overtime. Depends on, there are qualifiers. And I hate to say it, but it's pure political nonsense. To me, and I guess this is the special education teacher in me, having to write individual education plans. If you're going to write something that involves the American people, then the American people need to be able to understand it, need to be able to read it, need to be able to understand it, and not have to have a law degree or a taxation degree or whatever degree to be able to understand it. They shouldn't have to have two documents to cross-reference. This section, okay, this is what that section says. We're crossing out this, we're adding this. No. All right. if the average person only reads at a 5th grade reading level, I'm sorry, the bill should be at a 5th grade reading level. It should state tips will not be taxed, period. Okay. Social Security will not be taxed, period. I mean, to be honest, Social Security has already been taxed when it got put in. So it really shouldn't be taxed again. That's just double taxing the American people on money that they already made and already paid taxes on. Because remember, we pay taxes on our gross amount, and then Social Security comes out. So yeah, we already paid taxes on that amount. So no, Social Security should never have been taxed. Social Security is not an entitlement. Social Security is our money that was started when people didn't have the money after the Depression. It was supposed to be a short-term project. Unfortunately, over time, that money disappeared or became less than what the United States, what the government was able to give out to the American people who retired and should have received that money back. Well, Congress used that money for pet projects. So our Social Security Administration has needed to continue collecting Social Security to pay the American people who have already come to retirement age. I will not see my Social Security money that I'm putting in. I will probably be receiving my children's, probably my grandchildren's money is what I will be receiving when I go to retire. Because 2 of my grandchildren are of working age. 3 of my grandchildren are of working age. So they're paying into my Social Security right now because the government spent my Social Security on things since I've been working. Because I started at 13 years old. I started paying Social Security at 13 years old. I'm 57. My money is no longer there. I can guarantee you. So the Social Security system is kind of whacked to begin with. It was beneficial at its initial creation. But honestly, I think people should be able to put their money where they view is most important. It's great to have that security, but it's not much of a security anymore because apparently it's an entitlement, a retirement entitlement. No, it's my money. And if I had an option of not paying into Social Security, I would probably take it because the government is using my Social Security on things that it's not meant to be used on. So just my little spiel about Social Security. But back to the bill. Sorry, I digressed again. If anybody knows what pages income taxes are on, or Medicare taxes are on, Medicaid taxes are on, or the information about the wall and the $46.5 billion that's being allocated to build that wall, I would love to know what pages they are so that I can read it. Again, I like to be informed. I like to provide my opinion based on fact. And unfortunately, these facts came from the news media or from the literal accounting from
looking at the chart here.
What am I on? From TikTok.
That's making less than $15,000 will see an increase and federal taxes by 18.7%. Is that correct?
Yeah, just this year, just in 2027 or by 2027. I want to know where that is in the bill. I want to be able to look at that. So that's where my information has come through for this podcast. Please help me out. I look forward to hearing from you. And again, I enjoy your comments and I do respond to them if people point things out, like people have pointed out about the technology company in Arizona that Biden actually began the chip agreement, and that it was Biden who brought in the company, and yet Trump is taking credit for it. So when I read the the Arizona Technology Council article, it did not say anything about it coming in prior to this year. So I was just going based on what I read. I appreciate the correction and I commend Biden for bringing that in. At least Trump is using what has already started to continue the progress of bringing companies to the United States. I just wish he was honest about it and would say that we are continuing, not we brought in. So let the truth be told where the truth is. You don't need to make things up. So with that, I thank you and have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next week.